Hi everyone. This weekend, the footy's back and it's time for the Devils to pull off their first big upset of the season, because after having had the bye last week, other teams have overtaken the Devils on the ladder, and right now they're just clinging to 10th spot on the VFL ladder. That's the last wildcard spot. And by my calculations, the Devils need to win 2 of their last 3 games to secure a final spot. This is how the run home looks. Sydney, who were 3rd, Werribee, who were 2nd, and GWS, who were 6th. 2 in Sydney and 1 in Hobart. So this week the Devils really have no choice. It's time to shock Sydney, in Sydney, and take their biggest scalp of the season so far. Welcome back to Devils Chat. I'm Damien, and on the channel today, it's a match preview of the Tasmania Devils and the Sydney Swans. The match is on Saturday morning at Tramway Oval in Sydney. I'm flying up to Sydney to watch this game. It's a massive game for the Devils, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see a few other Devil supporters at the game. If you're a Tasmanian in Sydney, the Devils need your support this Saturday at Tramway Oval. It's the first trip to Sydney for the Devils this year, and it's such a big game against a real quality team in the Swans. Let's talk about the game itself and the form guide. Sydney are 3rd on the ladder, and the Devils, as we said, have slipped to 10th. The Swans have only lost once in the last 7 games. And last match, the Swans absolutely smashed GWS. I mean, the Swans were 100 points ahead of GWS at 3/4 time. And GWS are a top 6 team. So the Swans are really in great form right now, and this will be a very difficult challenge for the Devils. At home this season, the Swans have only lost 2 games. But one of those losses was against Richmond. And, Tassie smashed Richmond. And the Swans also drew at home with Williamstown, who really Tassie should have beaten last week or the week before last in Melbourne. So it's not impossible for the Devils. There is a chance. But on the other hand, the Devils have only won once in the last 4 games. And they've not beaten any side in the top 5 this season. So the form does suggest that Sydney are the strong favourites in this one. And the Sydney VFL team is not full of AFL stars, but they do have a lot of experience in their VFL team. So let's have a quick look at some of Sydney's AFL players in their VFL team. Lewis Melican, very experienced player, 110 games. Joel Hamling, another experienced player. He's played at 4 different AFL clubs, and he kicked 6 goals last week for the Swans. Angus Sheldrick, Caden Cleary, Corey Warner. He's a brother of Chad Warner, and Jesse Detoli. And for the Devils this week, a few players to look out for. One is surely Robbie Fox. Robbie Fox played over 100 games for the Sydney Swans, and he played in 2 AFL Grand Finals with them. He's got lots of mates at the Swans. Another one is Cam Owen. He was drafted by the Swans in 2022, but he didn't get an AFL game there. You would hope he's really fired up this week to show the Swans they made a mistake with him. And the third player is Caleb Mitchell. He spent 3 years at the Swans and he played 3 AFL games there. He's under an injury cloud at the moment with the Devils, but if he plays this week, look for him to have a big effort against his old club. Okay, I wasn't exactly sure where the Tramway Oval was, but it's a training base of the Sydney Swans, and it's right next door to the SCG, just across the road, in fact. It's just about the same size as the SCG, so it's not a huge ground. But it doesn't look to be a great spot for spectators. No grandstands, no viewing areas, no amenities. I mean, I love a beer and a pie at the footy or something, but it looks unlikely that I'll get one this week. So, how do the Devils get a win this week? If nothing else, they need to reverse one of their biggest and worst recent trends. Poor starts. I think I said this last match and maybe the week before that as well. So it's a repeating trend for the Devils. The Devils have been in front at quarter time only twice in their last 8 games. Twice in 8 games. That's a poor starting team. It's a big issue. It's so hard to keep coming from behind every week, mentally and physically. We cannot afford to be slow out of the blocks like we were against Williamstown, like we were against the Suns, the Hawks, the Lions, North Melbourne. I mean, the list goes on. Another trend with the Devils is poor kicking at goal. I just looked up some of the stats on accuracy in front of goal. The Devils are ranked in the bottom 6 this year for accuracy in front of goal, while our opponent this week, the Swans, they're ranked in the top 3 for accuracy. So the Devils really need to make the most of their opportunities this week. They can't afford to be wayward like they were against Williamstown, because I can't see the Sydney Swans giving us as many chances at goal as Williamstown did last week. So let's talk team selection for this week. This is a massive week for the Devils. And on the injury front, I'm not sure if our big guns are back this week or not. The club did say that Jai Menzies would return in 3 to 4 weeks' time. This week's match is the 3rd week, so he might be getting close. But I'm not sure they take him on the away trip to Sydney this week. They might save him for next week in Hobart against Werribee. It's a big call. I mean, he's a very important player to the Devils, and this is a vital match. And Caleb Mitchell. I've not seen any update on his ankle injury, but the Devils need him back if he's ready to go. There is certainly one other change I'd be making this week, and that's Kai Cameron. Look, I don't like calling for players to be dropped, but I think he has to miss out this week. He's not getting much of the ball, and when he does, he can't kick straight. He's missed 3 absolute sitters this year in very close games. Is that being too harsh, do you think? I don't think it is. I mean, Sam Higgins kicked 3 goals last week at local level. I think I'd be getting him back in there. He offers something a bit different to Kai Cameron, and he's a decent kick at goal. And around the local leagues, Max Gapin had another huge game with Clarence last week. That's a few in a row for him. He must be getting very close to getting his first game for the Devils. Do any of you out there have any confidence this week that the Devils can pull off that miracle win that they so badly need? Let me know if you do. Confidence-wise this week, for me, out of 10, I'm a 2. I know that's very low, and that's on the basis that Jai Menzies and Caleb Mitchell don't play. If they do play, I certainly have a bit more confidence than a 2. So do I think the Devils can get the win this week? I'd absolutely love to think they will. It will be their finest win of the season if they did, especially with key players out and having a number of young players with only a few games under their belt. It will be a huge shock. Well, to me at least. I mean, I'm going to the game. I'm flying to Sydney. So I'm absolutely hoping for a big result. But again, Sydney away with a few key players out, I think the Devils fall just short by 25 points. That's with the head, not with the heart. If it's with the heart, I'll be backing the Devils in. What's your prediction this week? Can we pull off a huge upset in Sydney? I'll be doing a match review after the game, either Sunday or Monday. So if you enjoyed today's preview, click the video on your screen now for the latest Tasmanian Devils news. And if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that match review. You can subscribe by clicking the Devils Chat logo up here. I'll see you soon. Go Devils.